Good evening to all our viewers, and you're watching live RTD's English News. The headlines coming up in these editions. Every December 10th, the Republic of Djibouti, like other nations, celebrate the International Human Rights Day, and as a topic this year, our rights, our freedom always. In this edition, we will go in Afghanistan, where Taliban killed scores in Kandahar airport attack. Thanks for joining us. The Republic of Djibouti has celebrated the International Day for the Human Rights at the People's Palace and had as a topic our rights, our freedoms always. Placed under the high patronage of the head of state, the ceremony has seen the participation of the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamal Mohammed, the Minister of Justice Ali Farah Assowi, the member of the government, and the National Commission of Human Rights President Mr. Ali Muhammad Abdu, the agency of the United Nations, and was representative of the Federation of Human Rights. The United States Ambassador Mr. Tom Kelly have also attended the celebration of the prominent event. The high-ranking senior military representative and the representative of the civil society were present, and above all, a special guest, the Norwegian minister, has participated after reading the Holy Quran. The chairman of the National Commission took the podium and made the point on the human rights campaign, in which for him seek to promote and raise awareness on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This day has been marked by a speech of political personality depicting the constant evolution of human rights in the world. In Djibouti, the UNDP representative Valerie Cliff has took the floor, and she said in her speech, delivering a message of Secretary General of the United Nations Mr. Ban Ki-moon, I quote, "At the time the world is the scene of atrocity on a large scale and widespread violence, the Day of Human Rights should mobilize a concert to global action to promote the timeless principle that we are collectively committed to defend in a year that marks the 70th anniversary of the United Nations organization. The history of the modern movement of human rights born of the Second World War can be an inspiration." The President of the United States, Franklin Roosevelt, defined at the time for essential freedom, which are inviolable rights of every human being: freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom to live, and among others. The representative of the High Commission of Human Rights in Africa, Mr. Idrissa Akone, has conveyed for his part the message of the top commissioner of the United Nations of Human Rights, and he stated that the celebration this day is devoted to launch a campaign that marks the 50th anniversary of the two international covenants on economic and social rights and the international covenant relating to the civil and political rights adopted on December 16, 1966. The representative of the High Commission of Human Rights in Africa has also welcomed the constant commitment of the President of the Republic along the human rights institution since its creation, while stating that the battle for the respect of human is a constant struggle that needs a wide participation, especially of the civil society. And for his side, the President of the National Human Rights Commission, during his intervention, said that the 2015 Human Rights International Day is devoted to the launch of a campaign that marks the 50th anniversary of the two international covenants on economic, social, cultural rights and the international covenant on social law and policy, which have been adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations. The two covenants, as well as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights from the International Charter on Human Rights, setting out the civil rights, economic policy, and social, which are the rights of all human beings. I would like, he said, to thank particularly the ongoing commitment of the President of the Republic of Djibouti along of the CNDH since its creation, so that the men and women who embodies our nation can fully enjoy the rights in the equality, freedom, and peace. The Minister of Justice responsible for human rights has indicated that the Republic of Djibouti has always implemented in the protection and promotion of the right. Let's listen to him.
The vision is scoped by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, according to which all human beings are born free and equal in dignity in rights, must be a reality and a leitmotif which dwells in us in our everyday lives. It recognizes the personal rights, the right to liberty and security, healthcare, work, education, to public freedom, and finally to social rights, economic and cultural human rights. These are the common idea that must reach all people in all nations. The member states of the United Nations have, however, the first responsibility to protect the fundamental rights of their population. The 2015 coincided with the celebration of the 5th anniversary of the two international covenants of human rights adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations on December the 16th in 1966, namely the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. These two international covenants, which entered in 1976 with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, forms the International Charter of Human Rights. This year, the chosen theme has been Our Rights, Our Freedom, always aimed to promote and to sensitize the fundamental rights which I have just quoted. Our country has been a protector of these rights, lands of freedom and exchange, as we affirm often. The Republic of Djibouti has been concerned from the very beginning the fate of the population fleeing the war in Yemen and who has found shelter in Obok in the north of the country. Today, Obok hosts a very large population of refugees who had fled the armed conflict by abandoning everything they had. Djibouti is not in rest in the fight against all form of modern slavery. I want to say the suppression of the traffic of illegal immigrants and the fights against the trafficking of human beings from elsewhere. The national plan of Djibouti resolution of this problem has been welcomed by major nations, starting with the United States of America. Indeed, during the official visit of the President, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, in Washington, President Barack Obama recognized Djibouti's commitments.
For his part, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamal Mohammed has, in his speech, reminded of the values of human rights. He has put the light on the commitment of the public power in the realization of the fundamental principles of human rights. Let's listen to the Prime Minister.
It's both a pleasure and an honor for me to celebrate with you an event like this, an event that happens every year, and its date has been chosen to honor the adoption of the General Assembly of the United Nations on December the 10th in 1948 in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The theme chosen this year, as it has been pointed out all the speakers who have preceded me, is Our Rights, Our Freedom always. Indeed, the human rights are a prerogative to everyone in all circumstances, no matter who we are, whatever our origins, social class, and our opinions are. It's a question of justice for individuals, stability for the society, and progress for the world. It is for this reason that I urge all our fellow citizens and the public authorities to get involved, to benefit and to translate the human rights ideals and values, and go along with our rights. Our freedoms aims to promote the economic rights and social, cultural, as well as civil and political rights contained in the two international covenants adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations in December 16, 1966. At the same time, the common ideal to reach by all and by perpetuating the nations advocate by the provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is part of the awareness in all peoples. Let me emphasize that the realization of human rights lies with the state contract at the international level of the human rights, values, and holder of public power, and not to be judged with decided to act through mechanism and national institutions in their confident the mission for the promotion and protection of human rights and defense of citizens. However, is not the only one to intervene in the field of human rights, since the organization of the civil society also play a decisive role in the training of complaints, the definition and establishment of the appeals procedures adopted. Also, I am pleased today that our country had a part as stakeholder in the quasi-totality of international legal instruments for the promotion and protection of human rights. We are sparing no effort to the full and complete realization of human rights in our country, and the steady progress made in the promotion of women's rights and the fight against poverty and for social development illustrated, if that is needed, with our commitment to democracy and human rights in general.
Following his intervention, the Prime Minister has reminded us that no one could avail the violation of human rights, then that all citizens are obliged to respect human rights. Let's listen to the Prime Minister again.
Let me emphasize that the respect of human rights is not granted with the disorder and the reprehensible acts that we are not prepared to accept because they are absolutely contrary to human rights. When mercenaries at the pay of Eritrea impose coups and confinement of young nomads transformed into child soldiers, it is indeed degrading acts which violate human rights in their essence. The Commission of Human Rights must raise the fate of these child soldiers and to fulfill its duty of denunciations of such acts of forced captivity which undermine the fundamental rights of our children and those of their parents reduced to a poignant silence. It is also the duty of every citizen to denounce that kind of act of terror of another age, endangering to the peaceful populations. What to say of this political opponent who refuses to comply with all laws of the Republic? What to say of this political opponent who wants to wreak on its way, including the public freedoms? In fact, in attacking the fundamental laws of the Republic, the opposition prove a real ambition, undermine civil peace, undo the national concord, and destroy the progress made. Well, we say to this opposition not and not. It is in this day of solemn celebration of human rights. The respect of rights and freedoms applies to everyone. No one can depart from it. Also, it is the responsibility of the government to safeguard the public freedoms and thereby ensure the freedom of movement of people and property in our country. It is a human right intangible that we must all respect scrupulously for the well-being and the progress of our people. Celebrate this day together constitutes a duty which we must all subscribe without sparing our efforts. Also, allow me to congratulate the members of the CNDH and their president for the remarkable work and their carry out in favor of human rights and to the service of their fellow citizens. I would like to assure them the support of the government in all areas to support their effort to progress in the promotion and protection of human rights, because the defense and the respect of human rights always will be common achievement.
Diplomatic now, the Norway Secretary of State, Mr. Jonar Kalmyr, arrived yesterday morning in the country for attending to the International Day for Human Rights ceremony, who has been under the leadership of the Prime Minister. At the conclusion of this great ceremony, the Prime Minister Abdulkadir Kamal Mohammed and the Minister of Justice Ali Farah Assowi, as well as in the presence of the Secretary General of the Prime Minister, received the Norwegian delegation at the Premature. The discussion will focus on security problems in the management of irregular migration flows and on the difficulties this may cause both on the security plan, the stability in the region and in the world. The Prime Minister Abdulkader Kamal Mohammed recalled that security was the #1 priority of the Djiboutian government. On his side, the Minister of Justice has said to the Norwegian delegation that the government was open to all proposals for cooperation. In his turn, the Norwegian minister warmly welcomed by the Djiboutian authorities for the privilege which has been reserved, especially concerning the safety of his delegation and himself. In addition, he claimed that the Kingdom of Norway wishes to develop close relationship with the Republic of Djibouti in the fight against terrorism, the management of migration flows and refugees. At the end of the encounter, the Norwegian minister offered with the present to Mr. Prime Minister and to the Minister of Justice. The Norwegian delegation was invited by the Minister of Justice and the Prime Minister to launch the company of several members of the government and of high public authorities. He finally noted that the Secretary of State for Justice and the Public Safety of Norway, Mr. Jonar Kalmyr, and his delegation will soon travel to the refugee camp of Ali Adde. A protection of refugees workshop has been held in the Republic of Djibouti this morning at the Kempeski Palace. This meeting has gathered the Interior Minister, Mr. Hassan Omar Mohamed, the Executive Secretary of the Honors, Mr. Hussein Hassan Dara, the UNHCR representative, Mr. Paul. The purpose of the workshop was to present a legal framework relating to the protection and the assistance of the vulnerable people in Djibouti. This meeting constitutes the launching of the process of the Asylum National Law draft preparation in the Republic of Djibouti. Let's be reminded that this workshop has for mission to unroll the Honors Roadmaps, which is an institution implemented since its creation in 1978 for the protection of refugees. The Republic of Djibouti has also been a land of asylum for the thousands of persons fleeing war. The elaboration and adoption of the national law of refugees allowed the Republic of Djibouti to better comply with the provision of the General Convention on Refugees, inviting member of country to produce their own Asylum Act. The Honors Executive Secretary of Mr. Hussein Hassan has in his speech that the Republic of Djibouti has already put in place the legal and institutional framework to manage the assistance and protection of the refugees. He said in his speech, a prominent humanitarian actor for the Djiboutian government to ensure the life of 25,000 refugees in the country, and that the government has put in place many institutional and legal framework for their safety. These workshops symbolize a national project law to reinforce the protection of refugees in Djibouti. The HCR representative, Mr. Paul, said in his speech, the HCR is delighted by the initiative the government of Djibouti is taking his commitment toward the refugees and their relentless effort managing and granting the security of these people fleeing war. In the legal framework, the Republic of Djibouti, signatory of the International Judicial, guarantee the safety of the refugees, in particular the Geneva Convention concerning refugees and the Convention of the African Union. The Interior Minister Hassan Omar Mohamed has in his speech highlighted the government policy on the protection of refugees. Let's listen to him.
For implementation of these international and regional conventions, our country has a national legal arsenal for the protection of refugee and asylum seekers in the territory. However, the existing legal framework needs to be consolidated by the development of national legislation on the inclusive nature of asylum. To this end, the government set up a committee of experts under the responsibility of the Minister of Interior, and whose main task will be to review the initial project being in your hands and make any constructive contribution required to develop a draft national asylum law will be submitted to the Cabinet and subsequently to the National Assembly for consideration and adoption. This expert committee will start its work as of this day, this Sunday, December 13, 2015, at the Office of Honors under the leadership of the General Secretary of the Ministry of Interior. This workshop is actually the start of the project development process of national asylum law in the Republic of Djibouti. On this occasion, allow me to express my gratitude to the High Commissioner of United Nations for Refugees and to all humanitarian actors to the technical support they continue to bring to the government Djibouti to ensure effective protection and adequate assistance for refugees. So I rely on the active participation of all stakeholders in the drafting process to quickly lead the preparation of the draft national law on asylum, which is expected by our government.
Education now, a training workshop on to use the tablet of the management team in place of the first year of primary school teacher in Djibouti has come to an end today at Training Center for Teacher of Basic Education. This 2 days workshop has allowed participants to become familiar with the use of the digital tablet in class. More than 200 people made up of educational advisors, school director, and the whole teacher of first year of the elementary have discussed on the course of these 2 days training on topics such as the characteristic of the tablet, explore with the trainer the application in educational tools contained in the shelf, but also work on the application dream, which are a fun game which allow the child to sharpen his curiosity and promote his awakening. The work of the workshop within the presence of the Secretary General Mr. Harun Umar Aden and MINFOB Senior Manager at the Training Center for Teacher and Basic Education. In the wall of closing, the Cretan General Director Saeed Nur Hassan has reminded to the teacher as well as the school director and the advisor that their involvement depends on the success of this project, a tablet per child, and that each and every one must master this tool for a better use in class. As for the Secretary General, he said he was confident about the result of these 2 days of work and to urge the participants to be fully involved in this project, but also to take care of these tablets once on their classes. Still on the national news, in the framework of the reorganization and the emergence of a Djiboutian civil society, strong, active and organized, the CNCD and the Commune of Balbala have held a meeting on December 8th at the Women's Center of Balbala. After a debate, they have agreed to sign a convention of partnership between civil society and the Balbala Commune. The latter falls within the framework of an agreement between the two parties to put in place a platform of meeting, discussion, consultations and debate for all SC of the Commune of Balbala, as much more that they will be laid to work under the supervision of the Commune of Balbala. This last thanks to the designation of a representative throughout the region to coordinate and facilitate the dialogue between OSC and the commune authorities as well as the CNCD. This ceremony remains a major event for a new strategic direction which plan in the near future to restore their social lives. The Commune of Balbala in a common agreement intend to promote the participation and involvement, community development and volunteerism as players in close proximity to the social lives. The President of the Commune of Balbala, the President of PSDI, Ismail Sanlassi and Yusuf Nuhu, President of the Commune of Balbala, was very pleased that this signature by the Commune of Balbala were presented during this signature ceremony. This strategy is in the framework of an agreement between the two parties. As a part of the fight against blindness, the Health Ministry, in collaboration with the Lion Club of Djibouti, has organized this morning a medical caravan consultation of the ophthalmology and cataract-free surgery in the reproduction of Health Center Al Husseina. The activity started today and will continue till December 20. This caravan was led by Dr. Isa Abdi Bokhore, specialist in ophthalmology at the Hospital of Balbala. The objective of this caravan is to consult more than 500 patients. All patients have benefited from treatment in eyes drop, glasses of vision to the elderly patient more than 40 here presenting problem of view. A day of volunteering for the most needy and vulnerable children initiated by the Port of Dorale Container Terminal, known as DCT, was held today in the capital, precisely in the center of community development of the neighborhood 3. Therefore, the voluntary called Global Volunteer Week who are conducting operation on the ground. The objective of this initiative to the long delimitation is therefore to prevent the opportunistic disease that can touch the malnutrition children, young and especially of the bottom age. This action of volunteerism has seen the participation of women of different neighborhoods of the commune of Bul'aw, such as Khadra Abdel Nasser, chairwoman of the Association of Women Hil Walal, Miriam Flechi, director of Human Resource of the Raleigh Container Terminal, and many other volunteers. Let's not forget that it has prepared a lounge for more than 100 children by the benefactors. Let's move now to the interior region, and especially in Dakhel, in the framework of the monthly consultation activities are putting in place by the Medical Center Hospital of the region of Dakhel team for the approximation of the care in locality. A mobile team of the Medical Center Hospital of Dakhel has moved in the locality of Dawia with the doctor of the mobile team of the hospital center, Dr. Mustafa Amin Muhammad, to carry out a consultation and care of proximities. The doctor of the mobile team of the Medical Center Hospital of Dakhel and its technician paramedic were present. The purpose of the mobile team is to provide care in the remotest area of the health care structure fixed. The benefit offered to the population of the locality were the medical consultation, the care of the reproduction, vaccination, support of the malnutrition children. The Ministry of Health, with this action of regulation through this strategy, bring care to the population of the region, moving the doctor and a paramedic. And now on the international scene, dozens killed, wounded in Taliban attack on Afghan airport. Dozens of people were killed in fighting at the airport in the southern Afghanistan city of Kandahar after an overnight attack by Taliban insurgents, while a key district in neighborhood Helmand province fell to the insurgents. Let's see with more details.
At least 70 people have been killed by Taliban fighters in a siege in Afghanistan Kandahar airport, official says. Official detail about the number of casualties and the nature of the attack, which began on Tuesday night, have been conflicting, with the Ministry of Defense saying in a statement that 37 people were killed and 35 wounded. Hospital officials, however, told that 70 people have been killed, including women and children. On Tuesday night, Taliban fighters targeted a residential compound and a military bases at the airport, which is used by Afghan, US and NATO military forces. There, they held a number of hostages as they engaged in a tense firefight with the security officials. Early on Wednesday, officials said that the siege was over, but witnesses reported from Afghan capital Kabul that at least 3 attackers were still holding about 10 people hostages on Wednesday evening. We are getting very conflicting reports, but we think the fighting is still going on, he said, adding that the level of miscommunication about the incident show why Afghan people are losing faith in their security forces. The Taliban has shown to the Afghan people that they are still strong in the south and can launch an operation like this even in a supposedly fortified airport compound.
In Argentina, the newly elected President Macri is set to take office in divided Argentina, supporter bid farewell to Cristina Kirchner, who will not attend handover ceremony at mid-row with incoming president. Let's listen with more information.
Mauricio Macri is about to take over as president of Argentina, promising to exploit its vast natural resources and to abandon its predecessor policy to revive an economy. If Macri, who will be sworn in at midday on Thursday, get it right, investments could stream into Latin America's third largest economy, giving its pampas, grains belt, promising technology sector, highly educated workforce, and some of the world's richest shale oil deposits. Outgoing leader Cristina Fernandez is from the populist tradition of Juan Domingo Perón and his wife Evita, who expanded the reach of the state in the 1940s. Thousands of supporters strung Argentina's most famous square on Wednesday to say goodbye to Kirchner, who made her last public address before handing over power.
And to end this edition, China on Thursday morning put a new communication satellite into orbit from the southwestern Xichang Satellite Launch Center. The China Sat-1C satellite was launched and carried by the Long March 3B carrier rocket. It will provide high-quality voice, data, radio and TV transmission services. Report.
In a growing list of China's space program, the country launched a new satellite on Thursday. China Sat-1C was launched into orbit from Sichuan Province, Xinjiang Satellite Launch Center. The China Sat-1C, as it's called in Chinese, was delivered into a geostationary transfer orbit at an altitude of around 35,800 kilometers. The satellite, expected to remain in operation for 15 years, will provide high-quality voice, data, radio and TV transmission services. Developed by China Academy of Space Technology, the satellite was carried by China self-developed Long March 3B rocket. It is China's 17th mission in 2015 and the 220th mission of the Long March carrier rocket. After a busy 2015, China is heading for more stride in further developing its rocket capabilities and space station plan in the coming year. Meanwhile, China is preparing for its first manned lunar mission, the Long March 9 rocket, due for 2028. Its payload will be 130 tons, which coincide with the lift capability of the Space Launch System being developed by NASA, according to China Daily.
This is the end of the news. Thank you for your attention and enjoy with the rest of our program.